Before we begin this story, if you're drawn to the dark stories that history tried to erase, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the stories we uncover every day. And let us know in the comments which state you're watching from. We love seeing how far these forgotten stories are reaching. In March 1897, a fire swept through the Willow Creek, Louisiana courthouse, destroying decades of land deeds, birth certificates, and marriage licenses. Amid the chaos, clerks salvaged what they could from the burning basement archives. There, behind a false wall, they discovered a sealed iron box containing 47 letters written in children's handwriting. All were addressed to families who had lived in the area between 1848 and 1865. None had ever been mailed, and every letter came from a place called Magnolia Ridge Plantation, a property official records claimed had been abandoned since 1866. What made the find truly chilling was a detail noticed by clerk Harriet DuPont as she spread the singed pages to dry. The letters weren't from different children. They were written by children who shared the same names as others who had written years earlier, as if the same children had been writing for decades, long past any natural lifetime. The letters led to a harrowing investigation that uncovered one of the darkest chapters in Louisiana history. Magnolia Ridge Plantation began in 1832 when wealthy Charleston merchant Victor Langley bought 12,200 acres along the Pearl River. Unlike most planters, Langley's fortune came from shipping and trade. He described his operation as an experimental agricultural enterprise, but from 1834 onward, wagons arrived regularly carrying children aged 5 to 12 from orphanages in New Orleans, Charleston, Savannah, Mobile, and Natchez. Langley presented the arrivals as a charitable apprenticeship program. The children would learn skills, receive food and shelter, and eventually be placed with families. Parish records showed meticulous paperwork. Names, dates, destinations, everything appeared legitimate. Local residents admired the generous merchant who saved orphans. Father Antoine Broussard praised him in sermons as a man who extended God's mercy. Yet whispers persisted. The children never worked in the fields. They lived in a long building called the Children's House, surrounded by a tall fence draped in magnolia vines. No outsider was allowed inside. Supply wagons left provisions at the gate. Even the plantation doctor was told, "We manage the children ourselves." Most disturbingly, no one in Willow Creek or nearby towns ever recalled seeing children leave for new homes. They simply vanished on paper. In 1842, Dorothy Hinton arrived searching for her younger sister Emma, sent to Magnolia Ridge 2 years earlier. Langley politely showed her a document claiming Emma had been placed with a family in Baton Rouge. She was reassured until she discovered such a family did not exist. Her complaints went nowhere. Years later, investigators found her original letter stamped "Matter resolved, petitioner satisfied." The plantation operated in plain sight for nearly 30 years, protected by Langley's generosity to churches and his connections with influential men. People preferred the story of charity to the uncomfortable questions that might follow. In 1861, the Civil War shattered the South's economy. Cotton prices collapsed, trade routes vanished, and wealthy families stopped buying servants. Yet children still arrived, even in 1863, when New Orleans was under Union control. In April 1865, days after Lee's surrender, Victor Langley died of a stroke at age 67. His nephew, Marcus, inherited the plantation. Marcus arrived in May 1865, spent 6 days examining the Children's House, and left visibly shaken. In June 1866, he sold the entire property to a timber company at a bargain price, with one strange condition. The Children's House and its surrounding acre must remain locked and untouched forever. For 30 years, the fields grew wild, the main house decayed, and the children's house disappeared beneath unchecked magnolia vines. Then came the 1897 courthouse fire and the iron box of letters. Harriet DuPont organized the letters by name and date. The pattern was undeniable. The same names, Sarah Colby, Thomas Reed, Mary Brennan, William Cross, appeared across decades, always written in childish script, never maturing. Sheriff Louis Deroux reluctantly investigated. Marcus Langley, now 71 in Mobile, responded to a telegram with a single plea: "Do not open that building. Burn it to the ground. Some truths are better left buried." The team, Sheriff Deroux, deputies Dr. Raymond Fisher, clerk Harriet DuPont, and journalist Jonathan Webb, rode to the overgrown site in April 1897. They broke the rusted padlock on the children's house. Inside was a time capsule. Rows of small beds, neatly folded blankets, shelves of books and slates, children's clothing still on pegs. Windows were nailed shut from the outside. No toys, no family letters, nothing personal. In a cabinet, they found ledgers documenting every child from 1834 to 1865. Each entry listed the child's original name, age, and origin, followed by reassigned and a new name. When a child graduated, another arrived to take their identity. It was a serial replacement. Contracts revealed the truth. Langley sold the graduated children, aged 14 to 16, literate, obedient, and without family ties, to wealthy households as domestic servants. The identity swapping created a perfect paper trail, and the children were chosen precisely because no one would come looking. But the ledgers and letters didn't account for all the children. In a hidden cellar beneath the building, investigators found duplicates of every letter, training exercises to make false identities feel real, Victor Langley's operational journal, and a chalk map marking a secondary location in the swamp. There, in a small clearing, they uncovered 23 shallow graves. The children, aged 12 to 16, had been poisoned with laudanum and morphine, killed methodically when the war ended contracts and Langley could no longer sustain or release them. Journalist Jonathan Webb noticed the numbers still didn't match. Where were the children who arrived in the final war years? He tracked down Ruth Nolan, the head caretaker since 1852, now 78 and living in Texas under a new name. Ruth confessed. In 1863, with no buyers, she continued accepting children secretly. Desperate to save them, she smuggled 18 into a hidden community of free black families in the swamp. She believed they were safe. Marcus Langley's sealed 1866 letter, opened 50 years later in 1954, revealed the final cruelty. The community had refused the children. Ruth, unable to care for them, led them into the swamp under the pretense of escape and abandoned them. They vanished without trace. The letters in the iron box had been hidden there by Ruth herself in the 1880s, a delayed confession. She died in 1890, never facing justice. In 1976, highway workers found scattered children's belongings and a cypress tree carved with dozens of first names, some matching the ledgers, others unknown. The tree was cut down, but a section with the carvings survives in a Baton Rouge museum. One small silver locket was found in the mass grave, containing a faded photograph and the engraving, "Catherine Elizabeth, beloved daughter." The girl had somehow kept her real name hidden through 8 years of erasure. Today, the land is a wildlife preserve. A weathered monument in Willow Creek Cemetery remembers the children of Magnolia Ridge. Their original names were mostly lost, their lives stolen, their fates buried under false identities or shallow graves. Yet the documents survived. Ledgers, contracts, letters, journals, preserved by accident and uncovered by chance. They bear witness that these children were real, that they were loved, and that they mattered. Magnolia Ridge was not an aberration. It was a system that exploited a vulnerability that still exists. Children without advocates, without voices. The story reminds us that when society looks away, terrible things become possible. The children's names were taken, but they are not forgotten.